Okay, so the day before, Steam's second most wishlisted game launches tomorrow, and there's a ton of buzz swirling around the latest next-gen zombie survival experience. Now, I've been covering the day before ever since they released their epic Division-esque trailer a few years ago, and with that launch, about 24 hours from now, we need to review over all the latest news and information along with my thoughts, because you know when it comes to this game, I have thoughts. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's LtBuzzLitebeer, and I apologize for the bullfrog voice. I'm sick for the first time in something like 5 years, and of course, just before this game launches. But, you know, that's not going to stop me from posting. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest The Day Before uploads. Likes, comments, shares are, of course, greatly appreciated. And let's dive into all the latest in zombie survival news. Right out of the gate, we need to discuss the release time starting off tomorrow. And remember, this is currently only available on Steam, so for right now, just for PC. And since I live on the East Coast US, 1 p.m. is the time I'm assuming we can purchase the game, download it, and dive into whatever they have cooked up for this early access launch. And here's where I want to drop in some concerns, starting off with this early access designation. You see, we've seen a select number of content creators receive these early access keys. By the way, not including me, probably because I've called out not only the game, but the studio in the past. But anyways, back to these early access keys that were distributed. And these keys were not to get into the game early, record it, play it, and then post honest thoughts and impressions videos prior to the game going live, which is the way many studios do this. They send out the codes early under NDA, and then review videos are allowed to post after a certain embargo date and time is reached, getting as many eyes on the game prior to launch. But that's not the case with The Day Before and FNTASTIC, the studio behind the development of the game. They're just sending out these codes, so they're essentially giving out free copies of the game, and so we've still not seen any gameplay for The Day Before outside of these scripted trailers. So for me, I'm going to have to plop down my $40, take a good honest look at the game, and post my thoughts. And hey, at least with Steam, they have a 2-hour window to play and refund the game if it doesn't stack up. With all that being said, my advice would be to anyone out there that is interested in The Day Before, I would personally hold off on purchasing it until you've seen live gameplay and received honest feedback from whatever source you choose to view. Like I said, I do plan on purchasing it and giving it a go. I mean, damn, I've been covering it forever, so it's only natural I try it out. And if you want my thoughts on it all, expect them to post to my channel later tomorrow after I've had a chance to try it all out. Which brings me to what to expect from the gameplay itself. And this has been a wild and mixed bag for sure, because the game has changed significantly, at least from what we can tell from the trailers. I mean, we started off with a hardcore open world zombie survival PvEVP environment that was simply stunning, then on to thick cakes running around the city, and we ended up with exotic sports cars, and pretty much everything in between, including weird dev vlogs, a full breakdown on what volunteers are, and a now shut down Continental Office app, and the list goes on and on. The official Day Before website is as barren as ever, with zero information, but there have been some recent developments concerning the gameplay loop itself, which were revealed through the Day Before's Facebook page. For instance, we will not be able to form or organize our own clans, but we can squad up with up to 3 other players in the Woodbury Safe Camp, but raiding other squads' ranches is simply not part of the game. And we saw these ranches in the previous trailers, which serve as safe houses for us and our squad, again, free from attackers, and these can be decorated and upgraded via Woodbury coins we earn through the completion of open world missions. We also found out that the world is persistent, so there is no timer where we have to extract and be out by a certain time. The session or server cap for players is still a mystery, and according to this volunteer answering questions over on Facebook, that information is still under NDA. We also found out that the current gameplay mechanics involve permadeaths, so if you were dropped in the open world, that's it. which, by the way, is something I was hoping for, being a longtime Division survival game mode player. There was also some information revealed about the explorable areas, including the city itself, the colony, your ranch, and also the countryside, where there is apparently always something happening. We will receive an open world assignments via an NPC at the Woodbury colony. And finally, according to the volunteer answers, the game uses BattleEye for anti-cheat with human moderation. All valuable information that could have been spelled out on their official webpage for the game or in previous trailers, which I find odd as to why it's now being revealed, but there you go. We've also seen in the past those exotic sports cars, which apparently we buy with the in-game currency and then use to get to open world assignments as fast as possible, which is a dramatic turn from the APCs and armored Humvees we've seen in previous trailers. Also, I'd like to know more about the combat itself, like how many players per server? What about the zombie aspect of the game? I mean, I have a ton more questions, which I will hopefully get answered tomorrow as I try out the game for myself. On the flip side, I also wanted to post several of my concerns. You know, things I've noticed over the days since the day before first showed up, and we need to start off with NVIDIA. And as we saw those trailers of the past, there were plenty of mentions of NVIDIA and their partnership with FNTASTIC. I read plenty of comments that went something like this: hey, if NVIDIA is a partner, then this game must be legit. Which is fair enough. Having NVIDIA on board does bring some cachet and clout to the project. But one thing I don't see anyone mentioning is the fact that for some time now, we haven't seen NVIDIA, or more specifically, their RTX integrations mentioned anywhere, not by FNTASTIC, nor by NVIDIA. For the record, the last time we saw things like 4K, RTX, DLSS 3, basically any of those high-end NVIDIA card features mentioned was back on January 3rd, 2023 during the NVIDIA Showcase event, so almost a full year ago. And if you remember, that was the last presentation prior to the game's March 1st release, which was then eventually delayed, supposedly due to the trademark dispute. Now, if you look over the current Steam PC specs to play this game, it has a minimum GPU requirement of a GTX 1060, or on recommended specs, a 1080 Ti, all of which cannot handle those upper-level NVIDIA effects like DLSS 3, like FrameGen, like ray tracing, etc. In fact, if you look at the game's official webpage, it says NVIDIA GeForce Now, which is an online cloud streaming service. That is not RTX, that is not 4K or DLSS 3, or to my knowledge, a full-on partnership with the studio. A red flag for sure, but I also know from past experiences that graphics aren't the most important aspect to a game, as the gameplay loop takes priority, but a 1080 Ti, while still a competent card, is far from the latest in NVIDIA technology. I guess what I'm getting at here is this whole thing just feels off to me. From the statements made over on Twitter, like calling themselves the 90s action heroes, to all those last-minute delays, all the previous releases that were abandoned in early access, the wild changes in gameplay quality we've seen over the past 2 years, from the trademark battles and mega hype events designed to push Prop Night or Continental on viewers expecting more day before reveals, the statements, then follow-up statements and eventual 180s on those statements, and even the ex and current FNTASTIC developers warning us not to buy the game. Again, this whole damn thing is strange. And I know that so many of you are hopeful that when the day before releases, it's going to be incredible. But you've also set your expectations very low, considering everything that has unfolded and all the drama surrounding the game in the studio over these past 2 years. Maybe I'm a bit different in my thinking here, because to me, any outfit that fronts the dough and rents out a billboard in New York City's Times Square, fights for the game's name in multiple countries, and states that they've been working on the game for over 5 years, well then, I'm going to expect a lot from that developer. They have pushed for this level of interest in their game. They've created the hype train, and now the world is watching. I want a game like this to absolutely crush it. We've all wanted the next evolution in this zombie survival genre. I'm just not sure this is the group to deliver it. But we're going to finally see what all this buzz is about tomorrow, and as I mentioned earlier, expect an honest impressions video to post to the channel once I get a chance to log in and grab some actual footage. In case you haven't done so already, remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. Likes, comments, shares are greatly appreciated. All my socials can be found in the video description below. Shout out to the now over 182,000 of you that have stuck with me and hit subscribe, and a special thanks goes out to my Patreon supporters. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.